Hello and good morning. I welcome you to the morning meeting today on Thursday, the 8th of March 2018. This is Jens Klatt speaking, exclusively presenting this format to you here for JFD Brokers as their global head of research and education. It's the day of the ECB meeting, and in fact, a day which promises. I really see high volatility coming. It really promises volatility. And this is mainly due to the fact that there are signs that Donald Trump will really be more aggressive, let's say. Will be more aggressive in terms of the tariffs here, and probably will really introduce such tariffs here. One clear sign which is sent here from the White House is that Gary Cohn, usually known as a neoliberalist and someone who is strictly against such tariffs and such political paths here. The White House, respectively the Trump administration, wants to go, just resigned yesterday. And so with this in mind, and having in mind that there was a quite clear rhetoric from Mario Draghi on the 25th of January, that was the day of the last ECB meeting here, and the day after Steven Mnuchin, finance minister of the White House, respectively of the US currently, who mentioned in Davos that a weak US dollar is something which is in fact really positive for the US economy, and which resulted in a US dollar sell-off on a broad scale. And in fact, you can see that it took quite a while till the US dollar could recover some of these losses here. That was the 24th of January. Currently, we are in fact trading slightly below the opening of this day. In fact, so lost some further ground here in the US dollar. This is, by the way, the US dollar index future on a daily basis here. And so that clearly shows, and that's 1.5 months ago, that perfectly shows that those comments really were capable of weakening the US dollar. Now tariffs are mentioned here, and Mario Draghi, usually as the president of the ECB, and someone who is expected to stay objective, to stay really neutral and calm and relaxed, really attacked quite obviously and in a very, very, in my opinion, aggressive way, those comments here at the press conference. And I was really surprised. So some of you probably might have listened to a webinar I held on this Thursday that was on FX Street in the afternoon. I'm not sure, but if I listen to that today, if I would, then I think that I would sound quite shocked here. And so nothing happened on the 25th in terms of down talking the euro here from the ECB. But, and this is the interesting thing, and probably one of the reasons, by the way, not just the euro lost some ground yesterday, but also the DAX shot higher, is giving back some of these gains here. But you can see here that there was it was around 1 p.m. German time, so 12 p.m. GMT. The DAX shot aggressively higher and made higher highs into the evening then here. Also thanks to the US equity markets. Nevertheless, it was clearly European markets which headed higher already right from the start when we opened sharply lower based on those not comments, but based on the resignation from Gary Cohn. And so the interesting thing about this is, in fact, that here the Eurozone, respectively Brussels, mentioned that they plan to introduce such tariffs too. And that was considered to be a sign that there's obviously strong support, to be expected from Brussels here, and this pushed European equities higher. And now let's come to the ECB here. I think that my current speculation, it's not a done deal, not at all. Nevertheless, I have to say that I have a strong feeling that the ECB will deliver something in terms of their rhetoric today. Mario Draghi at the press conference at 1:30 p.m. GMT, which will on one hand talk the euro down, and on the other hand lift potentially equities up, even though it doesn't look promising so far. But you can clearly see, well, it doesn't look promising at all. So in fact, the market lost some 50, 70 points or something from the opening here at 8 a.m. GMT. But all in all, I think we are not yet done on the upside, and there's a good chance that there probably will be kind of a reversal and an attack of this level, especially if the ECB really comes out and starts an attack at the euro and tries to down talk it. And this is, by the way, especially true because, and as you may have seen, by the way, 1 second, please. Let me just show you here another chart. The inflation, where is it here? Trading economics. The inflation in the Eurozone is below the target of 2%, significantly below the target. Oh, by the way, that's not good. Let's have a look here at the countries, Euro area, and then at the inflation rate here. So 1.2. You've probably heard about this last week already. So let's scroll down a little. You can see here that the last numbers came out on the 28th of February, and that was last week. So last week on Tuesday, yes, yeah, it was Tuesday. Last week on Tuesday, those numbers came out and showed that here, obviously, the inflation rate is dropping again, even though energy prices, for example, are rising. So you can see that here over the last 12 months, let's go back here to 1 year. Over the last 12 months from January onwards, there was a slight rise up to 1.5%. Nevertheless, we dropped again and below the levels seen last year in June here. And this despite the fact that here WTI rose sharply within the same time span. So from mid to end of June, when we traded around 42 USD per barrel, and we traded as high as 66, which means a rise of over 50% here in oil prices, and inflation didn't pick up at all, which is a clear sign that the Eurozone has obviously some trouble to gain momentum or keep the momentum, which it probably has here, without the strong support in terms of quantitative easing from the ECB. So their asset purchases, which they started to reduce here. And with this in mind, I think there is a good and a solid fundament based on which today a more dovish rhetoric is probably something we should expect here. And so yeah, with this in mind, I have to say that I think there's a very, very good chance that there will be at least some hints towards a down talking of the euro, which will usually trigger bearish action here, even though with a break above 123.50 here, this is now potential long trigger. So the market is giving back some of the gains here after it broke above that level on Tuesday. So usually you would consider long engagements against this level, but I wouldn't be surprised if the euro takes on serious momentum on the downside in the upcoming hours here, mainly based on the ECB, which comes out more dovish than expected. And this is also something where I have to say this could push the DAX higher. And on top of that, I want to add the following. In fact, the DAX was really, really, really strong right from the beginning of the trading week. So that was also something which in my opinion, is a sign that probably long engagements are to be favored above short engagements. Shorts against the current region here, 12,270, 300 points respectively. We, in fact, should consider everything bearish on the hourly chart here, which is trading, or where the DAX is trading below 12,600 points here, 12,650 points. So in fact, this is the last relative high, and everything below that is bearish, and respectively, if you're long, this is an anti-cyclical long position. Nevertheless, yesterday's price action was really, really strong, indicating some real big strength. Just imagine, I mean, Gary Cohn resigned, making it more likely that there will be tariffs in the US. This is usually a market environment in which you expect markets to sell off, and that is exactly what happened last week on Thursday. Yesterday it didn't, but in fact the DAX not just closed this gap here, but reversed sharply and closed here at its highs, and after gaining something like 300 points within one trading day here. So this is in fact very, very, very strong move, and probably an anticipation of a more dovish than expected ECB today. So and one of the reasons why I think short engagements should be taken very, very carefully, respectively, if you are short right now for whatever reason, based on which trading approach, which strategy you're trading here, then I definitely would probably be more aggressive with my stop to avoid being surprised by high volatility around the ECB, which will have their meeting in around 2 hours from now. Yeah, 2:30. It's not their meeting, but the press conference here. If we keep on dropping here, well then sure, most of the gains could be erased from yesterday, and the first target is probably to be found around 12,070 to 12,100 points, respectively even lower than that, so somewhere in the region around 12,000 points. But currently I have to say I somehow doubt that this is really a sustainable move, even though it's definitely the case that from an intraday perspective you should be really careful to take long engagements, since we are trading, for example, below the exponential moving average 50 here, which is usually acting as a very, very solid and good trend filter, trend indicator. And so everything below that should be considered intraday bearish. Nevertheless, the tide could turn here dramatically then in around 2.5 hours with the ECB, which somehow can be expected to come out more dovish. I wouldn't be surprised to hear Mario Draghi really start to somehow try to down talk the euro, also to give a clear sign towards the White House, and that they are not very, very happy to hear such comments here from the White House, and potential currency manipulation taking place. I mean, that was exactly what somehow could be heard here in Davos already. And let's just see how things develop here. I think we have definitely some good chances to see higher volatility in the upcoming hours here. And this is also something for all of those who are not yet positioned to please take into account that there could be higher volatility at the horizon, and something you should definitely take into account when taking on positions here, reducing the position size, and be careful also, because especially around 2:30 p.m. GMT German time, so 1:30 p.m. GMT, liquidity could thin out, and then markets are probably more likely to see kind of slippage and all this. Okay, so that's it on the DAX here. Now let's have a look at the euro. Well, in fact, we had already a look at the euro. Again, 123.50, potential long trigger, but I wouldn't trade it long, since I somehow doubt that the euro can really take off from here, even though if I'm completely mistaken, if I'm completely wrong here, and we are taking out 124.50 here, next target, definitely around 25.50, around the yearly highs, and above that, probably we can see a first a stint in the upcoming days then, up to 128. So all in all, we have to say that on a daily chart, even though we are neutral, we are clearly bullish. Everything above 121.50 here should be considered long, and there's in fact a higher chance that we get to see a push up to 128, probably 130 in the upcoming months, than that we break lower, even though, again, if the ECB comes out more dovish, if Mario Draghi comes out more dovish, there's also a chance that in the upcoming weeks and hours, upcoming weeks, there's room down to and below 120, probably down to 118 probably. So now let's have a look at dollar Japanese yen here. Still very, very choppy. Nothing really changed. Key level on the downside, key support 105.50. If we break below that, there's further room down to at least 104.50 short term. Probably it's also a sign which is pointing then to lower dollar Japanese yen, probably as low as 100 in the upcoming weeks. The picture would yeah, firstly light up a little. The moment we make it back above 108, even though I'd say that I prefer a pullback above 110.50 in dollar Japanese yen. So far, nothing really changed here. When looking at dollar Japanese yen, then also it's probably interesting to have a look here at gold. Came in stronger, saw already a quite aggressive push on Tuesday here, higher towards 1,340, which we didn't make it through. Now the thing is that with this pullback here to this current region, probably when we make it back above 1,329, that's a very short term, then we have another chance to probably see a stint up to 1,341. Probably also, and especially if the ECB really comes out more dovish as expected currently. Yeah, nothing more here on top of that, to be honest. And in fact, that's it. So all in all, let's see what the ECB delivers, and then we want to have a look at the markets here tomorrow and after the ECB. Probably I'm completely wrong. If so, well, then probably the DAX won't make it easily, especially the DAX here. It's my main traded asset. Won't make it easily above 12,270, 300, but sees probably a stronger pullback here, and then we have a probably chance to see a weekly close somewhere in the region around 12,000 points, even though somehow I still think that the chances are higher that we get to see the break on the upside, and that this is just a small pullback now before the ECB, then that we get to see a sharper decline here. Nevertheless, I have to wait myself, even though I have an opinion, let's say, at least an opinion, and let's say whether it's the right one or if it's a wrong one. So yeah, that's it from my end. Happy trading. Watch your stops. Talk to you again tomorrow, 10:30 a.m. GMT. I definitely look forward to it. Have a nice day. See you, and bye-bye.